Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports Central. I'm Mark Jackson, the good-looking young man to my right, Mr. Neal Duncan. He'll be my co-host. And Neal, we've got a great show coming up, and we have somebody to thank before we get right into it because this is phenomenal.
I will thank you and pay you later for that compliment. But this first segment brought to us by Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill, and good show coming up, and I'm excited to get right into it.
Oh, this is awesome. In fact, we're not going too far away from home because we do actually have a governing body of the sport of softball based right here in Polk County, and that's the Independent Softball Association. In fact, this weekend, coming up, we actually have the ISA, the Independent Softball Association, World Series in the C, D, and E categories. Wow. I mean, there's going to be teams from all over the country competing for the World Series crown in those particular groups. And Neal, this is really an honor to be hosting this event right here in Polk County.
Absolutely. When we talk about the local update, or when we do the local update each show, it's always ISA is doing this, ISA is doing that, ISA is doing that, and they're a great economic impact for Polk County, and we want to welcome the guys to the show.
Well, absolutely. Don, Mike, man, it's great to have you.
Oh, it's good to be here again, Mark. Good to see you.
Well, taking time out of your day, the World Series starts today, and obviously a very prestigious event for ISA and for Polk County, the world of softball as a whole. You've got some stars coming in.
Yeah, we got represent about 9 or 10 different states. In fact, they're actually having a banquet. You're keeping us from a free meal. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Well, maybe we get some leftovers after the show's over.
This is true commitment, Don. We understand.
Yeah, so we're having a banquet, and they do actually a blind draw where they draw out of the cup to see who they play, and it starts tonight.
Okay. Well, that's some good stuff. We've got a event that's technically a 3-day event here, and the guys have been coming in, getting a little practice in, which is obviously good for our economy. We love that. And Mike, a number of teams seem to be coming out of your region, which is the Southeast region, something that you've got to be pretty proud of because there's some real powerhouses.
Yeah, we got a good showing this weekend.
Yeah.
Well, let me back up for a second. ISA, let's talk about the Independent Softball Association, because this before we talk about this event, but tell us about the Independent Softball Association. What is the draw to Polk County? Of course, you guys are in Polk County, so that's one of the draws, but tell us about the organization and why it's great to have events here.
It started about 28 years ago in Tennessee. And then about 15 years ago, we had the opportunity to relocate the office. And Mark and them brought them down, and we looked around, and we moved to Winter Haven about 15 or 16 years ago. And then when I took over, we moved to Bartow to be closer to home.
Right.
I've been with them 25 years. The teams like to come to Florida. They know the weather's going to be good. We got 2 nice facilities. We had it here originally, and then we moved it to the Carolinas through somebody's efforts, and it was time to bring it back.
Well, one of the things we have great weather in the winter, and as you move into spring, obviously this is a different time period. These events are going on year round, and how has softball changed with year-round activities?
Probably the adult program is played a little less. These are the teams that end up here are the real competitive, the die-hard ones that do it. Overall, softball as a sport, the seniors and the youth are still growing. Softball's still growing a little bit. The adults are probably dropped off some, but the competitive teams, they'll always be there.
Well, you talked a little bit about senior softball, and part of the organization, you have a sister organization that is connected under one umbrella, and that's Senior Softball USA, run by Terry Hennessy out of Sacramento, California. And he actually has I guess the word would be enormous. The largest softball tournament in the world.
I told you wrong last night. It's 480.
480
I talked to him this morning.
We actually had a great interview last night on WLKF Sports Central, our radio talk show, counterpart of this one. But Don, I mean, that's an unbelievable, and of course playing in Las Vegas at this time of the year.
Yeah, it's
not so certain I want it.
Little warm. Yeah. We also had our introduction into baseball through Mike this year.
Oh, really?
So we started mingling a little bit in baseball. So.
Well, that's great. Mike, that's a youth oriented?
Yeah, youth. We've had 3 tournaments, sanctioned 1 league, just started, 31 teams in it.
Wow. Now, where's that based at?
In Morganton, North Carolina,
Okay.
Caldwell County, in Caldwell County.
All right.
On the youth side of things, how have you seen the sport change? And I alluded to it earlier. You know, you're in Bartow right now, and of course Bartow historically has been a machine at producing state championship time. But not just Bartow, but Polk County. How have you seen because a lot of these teams, they're the high school teams, but they're playing competitively together in the off season, correct?
Correct.
How have you seen that change over the years? Because it didn't always used to be that way.
No, I hadn't been in the youth very long. I've concentrated in adult, but youth is starting to be big up in my area, western part of North Carolina.
So it's growing. Like Don.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I know ISA offers is a number of different categories. You have, you know, church leagues, you have seniors, you have youth, you have co-ed. You were the first one to have a Black American national championship / World Series, and the diversity is certainly there. But softball's a lifetime sport. When we see guys now, and you mentioned that senior softball is growing by leaps and bounds, and you know these kids are as young as 8 competing in the girls' fast pitch. I mean, we're just seeing a sort of a transition into more of a family sport than years ago when you guys were superstars playing out on the field more so. You know, it was mainly adults. They had some few women's leagues, but now, man, full lifetime deal.
We just came back from overseas, Ireland and Scotland, and they're probably where our U.S. was 30 years ago in softball, and that it's being introduced over there. You know.
How was that experience? That had to be a blast
It was
playing
great.
softball in
We
Scotland.
played the Irish national team on one night, and then we played some teams. Then we went to Scotland and played in a tournament. Real hospitable. Learned a lot about rugby and stuff like that. So.
Well, when you say where we were 30 years ago, what do you mean by that?
They're still getting into it. They play. They probably play more co-ed than anything.
Okay.
It started like a family orientation. The guys take it serious, but actually, like in any co-ed, the women are what make the teams good or bad. Mike's just getting ready to host a co-ed in Cherokee. Just so happens they have a complex sits on top of the mountain, and about a half a mile next to it is Harrah's Casino. So it's kind of a good place for me.
Works out good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the facilities here in Polk County and how they stand up against other facilities around the country. I mean, we're truly blessed to have the amount of softball facilities as we do right here in Polk. Is that true?
Yeah, and we're, as you know, we're still in the infant stage. We haven't always had these, but we have the Auburndale and the Diamondplex who are equal to anybody in there. And then we have Christina and Bartow in the youth. At one time, I think we counted up, we had like 28 to 30 fields we could use for youth. And that's hard to find any place in the United States in such a small community.
Well, it certainly made a big difference here. And I think it's, you know, Don, you're obviously, and Mike, the experts in this, but you take a look at girls fast pitch softball and the teams that Polk County has produced at the high school level. You know, Neal alluded to that a little earlier, that you have your traveling competitive teams, but then you have these high school teams that are competitive as well. But there's been some unbelievable talent that has come out of Polk County simply because of the options that these girls have to play softball at a very young age.
Mike's wife actually played fast pitch for our Tennessee State director years ago. And the thought of the women is that's their out to get a scholarship and to get a free education or get some kind of education. And from when they start at 8, it's to, and Bartow to play for Coach Rutenbar and to get their name. They have a board with everybody that's going off to college to get your name on that board. That's the goal.
Well, Lindsay Littlejohn being one of them.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, she's certainly a superstar, went on to Florida and ran into some injury problems, but now coaching back here is what we want to see. Kids go to college, come back here, and you know, create their own new life and lifestyle.
You look at Nancy Denton recently from Wales, inducted to the Polk County Hall of Fame. Yeah. So, what are the things? What's new? I mean, what's in the future? What's the future of ISA, and what's the new trend? What do you guys see going forward?
We're actually meeting next week in Vegas while the seniors are there to discuss the future. But of course, we're going to come back again. We did agreement with sports marketing for 2 years to have the world here. We're bringing the youth world here next year and hope to build on some of the success they've had with other associations and other things. We're starting a winter national. We have the winter nationals here, but we're starting a winter world, which will be in
Lexington, South
Lexington,
Carolina. First
South
weekend
Carolina.
in February.
Okay.
In February to try to get some of
You got snow on the ground there, you know.
That's okay.
We take
These
a
guys-
chance.
these guys-
That's
Well,
worth it.
we talk about these events. How many teams are we talking about, and then let our viewers know how many players are on a team, just so they can get their hands around
Yeah.
what kind of economic impact we're looking
In
at.
the youth and the men, we do it roughly at about 15 people per team, 15 participants. The amazing part, in the youth, they have almost the same amount of spectators in that. You got probably about 15 to 20 a team spectators that come.
Right.
Of course, the younger, the better, because they
Right.
bring more.
They're kind of good.
In Bartow, it's probably not strange to have more spectators than players at times. We've had so many there, they kind of know the softball enthusiasts. We'll just go to Bartow. We can watch the kids play there and all. It's like we're on the schedule, so it's kind of neat in that aspect.
So what facilities, folks are obviously interested in softball, getting into softball. This is sort of a two-pronged question. But if they want to watch the games this weekend, coming up 20th, 21st, and 22nd, where do they go?
Auburndale Complex, which is located behind the Auburndale Speedway, or the Diamondplex, which is right behind Polk State College.
Okay, in Winter Haven. And then let's say just some moms and dads, grandpas and grammars. It's supposed to be funny.
I was trying to get what you said. I'm like, what?
Grammars,
Yeah,
as in grammar,
I
your
got you.
grammar.
I got
Okay,
you.
you got it.
I got you.
Anyway, they're sitting in their little pumpkin, getting out there, and softball sounds like a great sport for her. What would they, how would they contact you and the headquarters office so they can?
Yeah, we can try to get them on a league or answer their questions. They could call 863-519-7127. And they could go to the website at www.isasoftball.com, and the information is listed there.
isasoftball.com. Well, gentlemen, it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Good to see
I
you
haven't
guys.
seen you guys in
You're kind of fancy
couple of
here.
months.
I just wanted to ask you, does this have anything to do with Hank not being here that we got all this set up?
pretty much so. Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons we're able to do the upgrades is ISA hosting 40 events a year here.
Yeah,
So
which
that
is great.
economic impact. Guys, thank you so much.
Great stuff.